Welcome to the Reality Game Part 2. Thank you so much for volunteering to be a part of this for the 7th grade. The Part 1 was actually played in 1st grade for those schools that have been doing the full program. And so it was such a great success for 1st graders. It was just simplified quite a bit, but it was done in a way that the 1st graders could understand toward the end of the year after they had learned a whole lot about the difference between wants and needs. So we decided to grow the program up, and our goal with the program, for this particular game, is for the students to first, for them to understand what it feels like to be someone who is struggling financially, possibly someone who is living in poverty, possibly someone who is homeless. And with our whole program, our goal is that the students understand their neighbors better, because we've been challenged by Jesus to love our neighbor, to love God and to love our neighbor. And in order to do that, it's really good if we can know what our neighbors feel like, who they are, what they look like, and so forth. So in doing this, we have given the students a profile about a fictitious family that they are representing. All the students will have the same profile, but they will each have different ways that they can choose and pick and choose different ways that they can live through this period of time. So they are the parent of the family. They're either the mother or the father. And they were also given, before we even started the game, they were given an application on a job that they could apply for. They were also given lifestyle choices. And with that, they were able to choose where they wanted to live based on different criteria and also by the cost, how they wanted to get around, what kind of car they wanted to drive, how they wanted to clothe and groom their family, whether they did that at department store, thrift shops, whether they got their own haircuts, if they cut their own hair, or if they went to a salon and got haircuts, and also what convenience and entertainment that they wanted to have, such as cell phones, phone service, cable, and internet service. So they were all able to choose all of those ahead of time. And so that will all come into play as well. The game represents a 3-month period of time that takes 3 hours to play. And during that 3 hours, the students are going to be challenged to take care of their family in all possible ways. The schedule of this game will be a 30-minute pregame discussion that will be led by a volunteer. And then there'll be the first month that will be 35 minutes. Then there'll be a 10-minute break. And during that 10-minute break, there'll be some discussion and also some challenges that they'll be posed with. Then the second month, they'll have another 35-minute segment. Then they'll have another break for 10 minutes. Again, they'll have discussion and then challenges. And then the third month is, again, 35 minutes. And then they'll have a post-game discussion for 25 minutes. The pre-game discussion will build up for you to see who the character is and what their scenario is. That will help for you to listen to and to pay attention to as well. During the playing of the game, we're using timers because it's very important to stay on task and on time with the schedule so that we can get through everything that needs to happen. Each student will have a 2-sided game board that looks like the one that's up on the screen. So that's one side, and this is the other side of the game board. So there's 3 boxes on one side and 4 on the other. So each box represents a need that the student's family has. For instance, this one here, this need is food and nutrition. They obviously need to have that need fulfilled. So each box has 3 numbers on it. So under medical care, there's 3 numbers, 1, 2, and 3. Each number represents a month. So month 1, month 2, and month 3. The goal is to get all the numbers stamped by a volunteer, that's you, with a stamp marker that looks like this, or small stickers, depending on how you're going to be set up by your coordinator. And this is what it looks like when the stamp marker is used. Okay, when you see that stamp marker on there, that represents that the student got that need, that particular need of their family, satisfied for that month. That means that they paid everything that they needed to in order to get that stamp on there. That meant that that need was taken care of. So each volunteer will have a document, and or maybe a couple documents depending on the station that you're going to be. And the documents look like this. They're just a way that you can record for the different students what they're doing. So here's the students' names down the left-hand side. Most of the documents will have a way that they can either, it's already chosen on there what the choice is, say for what kind of car they want to drive or what kind of house they want to live in, or it will have fixed things. Like in this case, these are required utilities, and every student needs to pay for these if they have a home. So in this case, the student would have to pay $300. When they pay it, you will X the number of that month that they paid for it. That meant that you collected $300 for them. When you satisfied that particular need, if that was all that they had, then you would stamp your the game board that the student's carrying around. Now, some of them have optional things that the students get to choose as they go along. In this case, they got to choose whether they wanted cell phone, phone service, cable, internet, and this student chose 3 of them for a total of $300. And so each month they also need to pay that, and so it was X'd out on the first month. And because this student satisfied both of those boxes that they were needing, they got a stamp on their utilities. So you only need to worry about the one particular station that you will be at. You won't have to worry about all those other boxes. So if you're medical care, that's all you'll have to worry about. So you'll be looking at the same part of the game board every single time. On one side of the game board, the side with 4, that's the one that's up on the screen, there are certain needs that are required to be met each month for the student to keep his or her job. And these needs are dependent care, medical care, personal care, and transportation. And as you'll hear in the pregame discussion, the reason that those needs are important, it's not that they're necessarily more important than food and nutrition, utilities, and home. But in the short term, it's important because if they don't have transportation and they can't get to work, they can't work and they won't have a job and they won't get paid. So that's really important to have transportation, because if you don't show up day after day, you're going to eventually lose your job. Medical care is important because if you don't stay healthy and can't keep your job, then you're out of job. So it's the same thing with these. They're just important to actually maintain a job. The other needs, food and nutrition, utilities, and home, are also important, but in the short term, you can probably get away with not having those just for the sake of keeping your job. So that's the way that they've been broken out. Failure to meet 2 of any of these needs throughout the whole game means that they will lose their job and they will lose their paycheck. So you want to make sure that they want to make sure that these are all taken care of, as well as the ones on the other side, obviously, because if they lose their house, that's not good either. Some students will get a job before the game even starts. They'll have a job, and some of them will be able to pay off all their needs each month and take care of their family, no problem. Others will struggle to get a job in the first place and or pay their bills. So some of those students may become desperate, even to the point of being tempted to steal or shoplift, but that's all part of the game. Students can help each other, and they can ask others for help. They can also help others by donating food or money to the church, to the food pantry, or community center. Now, the game is designed to seem complicated and difficult, and that's what we want. We want the students to understand the frustration that their neighbors in need might feel. And actually, this really translates to a lot of people, because most people struggle at some point in time financially. And so it's really something that we all share in common. But Students may get frustrated that they can't meet their family's needs easily, and that is a really valuable part of the experience. So we want them to feel that. We don't want to take that away from them. Also, we don't want you to worry about micromanaging your job. Obviously, we want you to take it seriously, but the most important thing is what the kids get out of the experience with interacting with you. It's important to talk through some of the choices with the students so that they can understand them. Don't worry about the details so much that you forget about that end of it. The students may receive one stamp at a time, and then they will need to get back in line. And this might frustrate them. They may get frustrated that they have to wait, but that's a great opportunity to remind them that in real life we often experience traffic jams and slow checkout lines that waste our time. So part of that experience is the frustration, and even if you see them getting frustrated, that's something that we're looking to have happen. Also, as students come to you, it's good to help some students, and then other times it's appropriate to be gruff or rushed or even hurry them along. You can actually be inaccurate and not give them the money that they're supposed to have, or count out the money wrong. That's all fine too. They just really need to know that not everyone is helpful and kind to people who are struggling. And that's another part of the equation for them, because we're hoping that they will understand better how to work with people who are struggling, working with people who are frustrated, and understanding that they have needs and they have feelings just like we do. Each volunteer is going to represent a business or an agency or an organization on a particular street. And so there's 3 different streets. There's Oak Street, Walnut Street, and Elm Street, and you will be on one of those streets. You will have maybe one agency or a couple different ones depending on the needs of that. And so you may have several that you need to learn about, but usually they're smaller ones if you've got more than one. So we just hope that you really have a fun time with this and relax and enjoy and just take in all the aspects of it and let the students learn what it's like to really live in real life and to try to make it month to month. We thank you for your time and good luck.